I guess what we'll do first, Amanda's, we'll call the roll, please.
DeGiorno,
Here.
Grandel,
Here?
Narduzzi,
Here.
Tagliati,
Here.
Tracus,
Present.
Laverca,
Here.
Walchanwicz.
Here. And before we get into the caucus, as far as the reviewing tonight's agenda and the legislation, we are going to have a very quick executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee. And that will be conducted in private in the room, the caucus room. And then we'll be back shortly after that. So I guess we'll need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Chris,
Second.
seconded by Dale. Call the roll, please.
Grandel,
Yes.
Narduzzi,
Yes.
Tagliati,
Yes.
Tracus.
Aye.
Laverca,
Yes.
Walchanwicz. Yes. DeGeronimo.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. We will be back very shortly.
Recording stopped.
Thank you. You're welcome. Like you too.
Check. 1, 2.
Probably. Maybe Debbie's office. She started it in her office and maybe Yeah. Yeah, it might be her.
I would do the board, but I would shoot. So that's why. We're at. Six. Right, is that just a literary six? That's a change. That's the one we had in our book. You'll see down there, you don't get confused. Because that's the county's ARPA that they're giving us. Yes. So John D just has, hey, this $186, is this part of our ARPA fund, or are we creating a new fund? And like, no, that's, this is not our ARPA money, this is the county's ARPA money, that this is how they choose to use it.
You had a class right, or this job.
For this job, but it's not our ARPA money.
From earlier where every community had.
Right, this is the county's, and the county is using their portion. So what is this chief order, it's really, It's not good. Change your forecast five.
Oh, yeah. Bunch of all. Whatever the sidewalk, what's kind of one, very one that we're. Fine. Yeah, that is. And it's already fine. After that, it's over.
So this is a. So we've got our net up.
That'll be what the city's over.
Well, and we acquired that. When we do it this year,
Yes.
this is going.
I'm just trying to take that very much, rather than just overall class. Right, I'm saying that. Don't worry about that.
That's what I got. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
And I would just, figure out what it is. I sit with those sidewalks. I probably thought that was. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Nice trail, right?
264 equals 12.
You could replicate it in the middle of Oak Tree. Right, south.
You need 24 feet, essentially. That will pull that off.
My neighbor was insistent to me that you were going to want.
It just did a concentrate, it's wider than 6 feet. Lines of those, out trees, that's around.
I studied, they look similar, he's smaller maybe, but he looks similar.
No.
Well, I first. He's sensitive.
Yeah, he's here.
I just didn't know.
So he is in
That is true, my neighbor.
he's there.
Sure his last name, yeah, he just recently started, Walter,
No.
Yes. That's it.
I have asked, but they can hold me up.
That's right, it's
I'm
my
here
word.
at home. You know, see you.
You probably didn't like the Canadian.
Oh, no, I didn't go out sometimes, but it's very intermittent, like, I can use it when it's really the hottest in the summer or before I play basketball or something. I don't use it as often, like one canister lasts me most of the year.
In the shelter.
I was gonna end it. Even like, even before I went up, like, happened to play ball, I had like this, tight, sort of tight end. I get wind and I can play, so. Well,
about spring chicken?
I'm just reading over my notes.
I'm blessed that I can still do that. I played, until
I
May.
feel very
I remember the problems, but.
just because at the end it's just a consistent read, you know?
Even with younger kids. Shit.
But I think I'll cut out. These are probably the last ones. I'll be fine.
So the key to this was to not play from 25 to 43, avoiding all injuries and all
Yep.
problems.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up and play with older guys that are in, low
Right.
gear. You're not gonna play it now.
I like having this in these. Yeah.
That's when guys get hurt, like,
It's not having the press.
stupid things. I'll never go over my knees. I'm like, no. I'm not gonna die.
Yeah. Just moving around, getting fidgety. I do the same thing with my hands, so I put them under here and I'm like rubbing my fingers or something, like doing something. Over the coat. I think so.
Chris, how are you? It's a little,
Especially now, it's almost counterintuitive, the summer, in the winter, the heat's basically heat that is. So if I'm making it warm, I can actually wear short sleeve shirts, but now, in the summer, when it's got the seat. Yeah, it's, so we got, they got the heat going, and the others got the heat going, our got the heat going.
These guys who work hard.
Well,
I forgot. Hair out.
I don't know. Just one temperature.
We didn't measure, but the plans showed about 77 feet all the way to the top of the, something called the weather vane, 71.5 feet to the actual top of the physical structure. You can actually do that? Yeah. What's it referenced? Off of the ground elevation? Okay. But I mean, pretty close. Yeah, I'm curious to see how close. Out front, which way? Oh, I don't think I know. Taller than this. Check that too. We didn't need it for this meeting.
Yeah, really.
Just here. Oh, wait, we were. Yeah, I would say it's not bad.
Oh, wow.
Almost took us longer to walk there.
So they want to adjust it too, just to make sure they're covered. It's a guarantee.
Right.
Yeah. Good job. They took the break.
They definitely did. They definitely did a lot more. The one with his bill price is lower. Yeah, it's only a few dollars less. Then we got a bunch of.
Yeah, candidly, our TIF.
I just wanted to pay the
Yeah, you're fine.
Figure by the wear and tear combined, potentially more accidents.
Oh, no, I didn't.
I get it.
Okay, this is.
Hopefully you can't provide that information.
Yeah, you're funding. $200,000. You're funding $200,000.
That's a new 80?
We want that on the agenda.
No, this is the one I. Yeah, it would be, if this gets approved, 200,000 would go into this fund.
First of all, let's go right side up.
No, I just, I want to make sure that's legal so that I don't go August and say, hey,
Okay, so how is this any different than that?
for this ordinance.
What you gotta do with your budget, this is telling you to take 200,000. Yeah, first, the 200,000.
We'll have it for the next. Okay. We had that other packet, now we have another thick packet. They just laid it there. I didn't get one.
That's the first thing I think of.
Dave, you're gonna just continue?
Yeah, we are back in regular session,
Recording in progress.
and I know that, I think the chief is, is the chief on,
Yes, he is.
chief, are you, Chief?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here.
Very good.
Vice Mayor, would you mind if we just deviate from our agenda since we're the council meeting, just for, because I see the Reverend here, and I just
Oh, sure.
start with a
Yes.
prayer rather than have him sit through the legislation, unless
Very
you're
good.
bored tonight.
No, that's.
So then, if it's okay, Vice Mayor, we'll just have.
Oh, yes, that's
have
fine, Mayor.
Pastor Reverend Matthew Garrett from the Concordia Church say, open our prayer this, appreciate it.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for this glorious day. We thank you for your wisdom in appointing a government, Lord, an earthly government to maintain justice and righteousness. That is what your word says is the purpose of government you have appointed on the earth. Although by process of evolution, if you will, many other things also fall upon the plate, so to speak, of our government in this world. And we pray, Lord, for your wisdom and your guidance for our elected leaders and officials in all things. We pray, Lord, that you would be with this group tonight and guide them in all things, that all decisions they make would be beneficial to the citizens of this community and would be to the glory of your name. We pray in the name of Jesus, your Son. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
You don't have to be bored all evening sitting around. It's not boring, though.
No.
Okay, Vice Mayor, you will
Very good.
take
Thank
over
you,
now.
Mayor.
Thank you.
And Chief Butler, I think what we'll take up now, before we go to the legislation, we're going to take up that motion to amend ordinance 2023-29 to increase the overall project from $56,227.14 to $58,974.28 for GEDAC body-worn camera systems. I know you gave us a memo on that. Do you want to explain just a little bit further?
Yes, so this is for the GTEC body cameras. We have a grant through the state. Originally, I asked for $56,000. We brought the representatives from GTEC out. They did a great training session with all of our officers, a very in-depth training, and we learned that we needed some additional equipment. The ask will be covered by our grant, so I ask council and the mayor to please allow us to increase this amount, which will be paid back by the state.
Thank you, Chief. We have a motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Dale. Call the roll, please.
Tracus,
Aye.
Laverca,
Yes.
Grandel,
Yes.
DeGeronimo,
Yes.
Narduzzi,
Yes.
Tagliati,
Yes.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. So that, the motion has been made and approved. We move now in the agenda. We go to, I guess, ordinance number 2023-82, which is ordinance authorizing extension to the lease agreement with Flock Safety for ALPR cameras and software for the police department. This is an amount not to exceed $77,500 annually, or a total amount for the 5 years of $387,500. Chief, would you like to supplement your memo to us?
Yes. So the Flock system, the cameras that are used throughout the city, we have 31 of those cameras, and they have been invaluable to our police department. It notifies officers when somebody with a warrant or stolen vehicle or a missing and endangered person enters into our city, so that our officers can proactively stop those individuals. If we do not extend this, there will be a price increase per camera. The increase would be approximately $15,500 a year, raising our total to $93,000 a year, which is a $500 increase per camera. This is something that they have already put into place. Other cities that are now joining onto Flock are paying $3,000 per camera. If we see that there needs to be more Flock cameras, we will get them within those 5 years for the $2,500. So we will be locked into our regular rate. I foresee that this is the technology that we will continue to use for the next 5 years. And I will state that the vast majority of Cuyahoga County municipalities use Flock, and many have already signed on to this.
I believe, Mayor, we were one of the first communities, weren't we,
Yes.
I don't know how many years ago this was, but it has provided many, I mean, hardly a month goes by, Chief, where you don't refer to the Flock cameras being able to nab somebody either that's coming into town or a stolen car or things of that nature, so.
It's helped us solve a lot of crimes, including the Chase Bank robbery of last year.
Very good, Chief. Any questions while we have Chief here that you have of Chief Butler?
Chief, does an Amber Alert, is there any way that something like that would trigger a plate read?
Yes. Yeah, so as an Amber Alert does put in a license plate, or even sometimes the color, make, and model of a vehicle, that can be alerted on our Flock cameras. So we don't even need a license plate. If we're looking for somebody, we can go by make, model, and color of a car, and we can use our technology to assist somebody that could be endangered from an Amber Alert.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the Chief?
I did. Chief, on the agreement for 5 years, is there a penalty to get out if something happens to Flock? I guess, are we signed up? Are we paying the 5 year in advance, or we're still paying annually? If Flock were to change systems or change somehow, we wouldn't be locked into something we didn't like at that point.
No, it's the price for the technology and the cameras. So if Flock stopped supporting their software, we would no longer be paying the price for those cameras. It's just a commitment for the 5 years. I can tell you, Flock is the leading LPR system in the country. So I do not foresee any issues with that. We've already had it for a considerable amount of time, and more cities are already adding on, including Seven Hills, which is our neighbor. I feel that this is going to be very productive for us for the next 5 years. It's going to be great for the system.
Any further questions for the Chief? And any opposition to putting this on the consent agenda this evening?
Chief, if they come up with some new technology, new cameras, do we get that opportunity, or is it we locked into our current hardware?
I wouldn't have a direct answer for you on that. They do not have anything set in stone about upgrading the license plate readers. They have now started a CCTV program similar to what we are looking at for the blue light cameras. However, Jim Gibbs and I met with them. We met with other companies, and we feel it would be more fiscally responsible to go with a different company for that technology. That is now their new hardware, their new technology, and they're focused on that. So their LPRs, I do not see being modified or changed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I believe that's no further questions, so you'll be able to enjoy the rest of your evening, and Chief, thanks for joining us.
He's in
believe
training
we have-
right now. It's good to see.
Yes. I believe we have one more piece of legislation, do we not, about the tow fees?
Oh, yes. I apologize for that. Yes, we move back on the agenda to the very first item under first reading on the third page. That's ordinance number 2023-77. It's an ordinance enacting new section 141.10, the codified ordinances of the City of Independence relating to police department administrative towing fees. Chief, would you like to explain?
Yes, last month, Hilltop Garage, that has served the city honorably for many, many, many years, as long as we can remember, has decided to no longer tow vehicles or store vehicles. This came rather abruptly due to retirement, and all cities that used Hilltop needed to look elsewhere. I met with other chiefs. I met with various companies throughout the entire area. The department determined that Kuffner's Towing was going to meet the needs of our department, our highway, our volume, and is able to handle all types of tows. It's also allowed me to look at the towing program that we have within the city. This is something I'm very familiar with. I did this in the Cleveland Metro Parks. We are one of the few cities that did not have an administrative fee. What an administrative fee is the time of the officer, the paperwork, the work of our civilians and the police side, our clerks, to make sure that everything is done for this tow. It is a fee that is paid to the general fund, not the police budget. And when anyone picks up a car, an insurance company, anyone of that capacity that is picking up a car for a tow would incur a small fee. We are on the low end of what an administrative fee would be. I feel this is a good start for us to see how this goes, to see how this works. We are also able to waive this fee if it is a violent offense, or if somebody is horribly injured, we can waive this. It's up to the discretion of the department based on an as-needed basis to help certain types of tows. But I'm happy to answer additional questions. I know I included a lot of this on the memo.
Any questions for Chief Butler on this piece of legislation? I see none, Chief. Any opposition to putting this on the consent agenda this evening? Opposition, Jim?
You're opposed to it?
I don't think we need it. If people want to pay for the tow, let them pay for the tow. I don't know why we need a fee.
Well, we'll be voting on this separately then this evening, Amanda.
Just to respond to that, just so you know, all fees currently go to the impound lots. They dictate their storage fees, stuff like that. This is a normal amount just to compensate the departments for the work that they do. So that is why we are requesting this.
And Chief, you say most communities have this on their books as far as their...
Yes, I modeled our legislation after Lakewood. I personally did this for the Cleveland Metro Parks. I met with their law department, and I modeled it after other cities during that time when I was with the Cleveland Metro Parks. But the legislation in front of you is a mirror image to Lakewood's, but it does give us some wiggle room. So it is not mandatory. If there is a need, somebody has unable to financially afford this, or there's another reason that might come before the department, we can reassess it at that time and give a waiver for that person.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And we'll be voting on this evening, but just not part of the consent. Okay, very good. Thank you, Chief. And enjoy the rest of your training and everything. We hope to see you real soon. Be safe. Thank you. We go back now to the agenda, back at the beginning of the legislation that is on, there we go, on second reading, and ordinance number 2023-72.
Vice Mayor?
Take Youth for Christ since they're here, since we're kind of.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh, okay.
72 and 73 are being removed.
They're being
Because they're
removed?
still, yes.
Okay, well, then we'll remove 72 and 73. We'll get that taken care of before we move on. Now we will then go to the
Youth for Christ.
Youth for Christ. I used to like when our agenda was numbered, you know, the pages were numbered, everything.
We'll get there.
That's one thing they have to work on the software there, maybe to provide that. Yeah, we go to, I guess it's page 4, the bottom of page 4. Ordinance number 2023-80 is ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Youth for Christ to coordinate, direct the Campus Life program for the 2023-2024 school year, and amount not to exceed $25,000. Angie, would you like to come up to the microphone? And anything, Angie, you say this is since 2011? This is a program that's been
2010.
sponsored?
Yes,
See.
since 2010.
2010.
Yes, we've been involved with the Campus Life program. And last year, we went to an hourly rate, if you remember.
Can you make sure the mic is on, please? I'm sorry, Ange. If it's not on, if it's in the bottom, should be the bottom or the side.
Those tech assistants.
All right.
How's that? Better, thank you. Yes, Vice Mayor Grandal, we've been doing this since 2010, been involved with the Youth for Christ Campus Life program. And last year, what we did was we converted to an hourly rate system. So rather than just pay the monthly rate until the $25,000 is reached, they just bill us for the hours that they work. So that's worked out very well this year.
You'd like to introduce the members that are here?
Yes, I would. I'd like to introduce the Executive Director, Jeff Thompson, who's also a resident. And Keisha Rosato is our Independence Director, who has very high ratings from the building principals and the students. Ashley Tangler is her supervisor and our former Campus Life Director. And I'll let Ashley introduce her new staff member.
This is Tommy Xenos. He's our newest Campus Life staff.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I think maybe Emily, you might, if you want to contribute anything as far as your feelings towards the assistance they've given the community services.
You know, we've been very fortunate over the last 2 years that I've been here to have a relationship with Campus Life, not only with the kids in our community, but their involvement at home days and other things of that nature. I was fortunate to get to know Ashley in that first year, and then Keisha coming on board. It's really been an impactful program for the youth that we serve, and just to have another set of eyes and ears and compassionate people in the community. You know, we've all talked about the importance of, or the difference, excuse me, that one positive role model can make in a child's life, and we're seeing that. And we're seeing the growth of the program. I mean, definitely the 2 years that I've been here. And I know we lost a little bit of momentum, which was some changing over of the team. But now that Keisha's back in full swing, I'm really excited to see what the next year brings.
Any questions for Angie or the Youth for Christ staff?
What is the number of students typically that are involved in the program?
Hello. So we're ranging right now 13 to 15 students, which it's growing, and we're very happy about that. But we hope with the new school year and our renewed partnership, we'll get to serve more students. But it's been growing, yeah.
And this is for middle school and high school aged students.
Yes, middle school has more of a club, a weekly club that was meeting on Fridays, and I think what happened was during COVID, where, in-person meetings were not possible, Youth for Christ pivoted to do whatever they could, virtually to provide the support to our community. And with the change in the directors, we lost Jim Eller in September of last year. Keisha was hired in October. Lost a little bit of momentum, but now that Keisha's back, it's picking up nicely. And I know the high school program, rather than the weekly club, is more of a monthly dinner.
So we started doing high school lunches. So just this past year, we started doing high school lunches in one of the teachers' rooms, and we started with 31 students the first meeting, then 36, then 41. So the students were really excited to keep those going. So I think over the course of the year, we served 76 different students.
And just to add on to that, in community services, we do a really great job of our primary school and under programming, and we're still trying to get engaged with that middle school and high school programming. So the fact that Campus Life can come in and support that group while we're still, getting going is great. Community services in the winter of last year did a middle school hangout week where we had 120 different students 120 students over a 5-day period come in, and that's something that Campus Life is going to get involved with us this year. So it just adds further touch points. And again, just like we do with the schools, creates continuity of care across all the different aspects of the city.
And also, they do continue programming throughout the summer, which they do not bill for. So they do that just to, keep touch points with the students and offer us some meaningful activities throughout the summer as well.
And just a question as far as how many school districts partake or communities partake in this program throughout the greater Cleveland area? To give us an idea.
We have, we're up to 34 staff now in serving, 35 high schools, middle schools, youth jails, different facilities. So that's inner city schools in Cleveland, that's 3 juvenile detention centers, county and 2 state facilities. That's private schools, Laurel Hathaway, Brown, Hawken US, WRA. So there's about 35 schools in Parma, to Chardon, to Garfield, to Brooklyn. So kind of greater Cleveland, there's 35 high schools, middle schools, or youth facilities that we serve in.
Yeah, thank you.
And this year we worked with, I think it's about 3,100 kids, kind of in events and weekly clubs and small groups and mentoring situations across the city among those. So, yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
You can see with this, when we started with this 2010, how much the world has changed in 13 years, and the need for programs like this and the need that our children have is even far greater than it was 13 years ago. So we appreciate, I think if this program just helps 1 or 2 families or 1 or 2 children, it's well worth the investment we put in for the community. I speak for myself on that, but any other questions that council may have of Angie or the staff here? Any opposition to voting for this evening? I know it probably won't be on the consent agenda, but we'll vote on this evening.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
You want us to get up there and talk about 79?
That would be great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
while you're here, Angie, will save you it all. And that we're on the same page, ordinance number 2023-79. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Independence Local Schools Board of Education for professional consulting services from the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. They're located in Independence also. And it's regarding the prevention specialists that we have been a part of, I believe, since 2018.
Yes, correct.
And the cost of this actually is lower, the city share is lower now than it was in 2018.
Yes, it is.
I'll let you go ahead and expound on that, Angie.
When we initially found Alexa, it was through the McKeon Education Group, and they were the contractors, so there were other services, overhead that we were paying for with that. But we were able to hire Alexa through the Educational Services Center, and so those numbers actually went down. You'll notice a slight increase between 2022 and 2023. It just indicates a 2.5% cost of living increase for Alexa. But she's doing a great job. I know the Community Services is very happy to have her. With the addition of Jennifer Zisk-Vitron, our social worker, they have a very good relationship. She can communicate with Jen about families and certain things that would not have been appropriate to communicate with me as the clerk of court. I mean, I was the facilitator for all of this, but now that we have an actual social worker on board, I think it just kind of, closed the circle there for, service to our families and our kids here.
Thank you, Angie. Emily, would you like to add to that?
Just to add on to what Angie was saying, Jen and Alexa meet on a monthly basis during the school year just to talk about different issues, challenges, or positive things that they're seeing in the school system from Alexa's side, and then in the city from Jen and our perspective. And so it's just good to make sure that the city has a pulse on what's going on in the school and vice versa, because we care for a lot of the same kids, especially those summer months are so important when, Alexa does have the summers off to a certain extent, but Jen's here year round. And again, just that continuity of care that I mentioned earlier. And then in addition to that relationship, Alexa comes in and works with our before school, after school, and Idea Camp and summer playground counselors. And she trains on topics that she's seeing in the school that are important for our counselors to know, or topics that our counselors are seeing in our programs, such as de-escalation training or, challenges with transition and things of that nature. Again, so we know how to best care for our kiddos. With the school having kind of their own version of HIPAA, and forgive me for not remembering what that is called, the schools can't always share information with our counselors, but with Alexa understanding what's happening, sharing the types of trainings with our staff allows us to bridge that gap a little bit.
Thank you, Emily. Jim?
Thank you, and thanks, Angie. I had a curiosity about, there's been an increase in depression among school-age children dramatically since the pandemic. We're 2 years out from that, but I was just curious, what was the philosophy on dealing with that, and other things that we could be doing to help you with the schools? Obviously, we're very sensitive to everybody in our community and their needs, and particularly to our young people.
Well, Alexa receives referrals from the school, from teachers. Teachers are able to not make a referral directly to Alexa, but through their administration. So whatever issues that she's seeing, she will address with the families. I didn't get an end-of-year report from her, but as of April, there were 52 students currently on her caseload. Unfortunately, 4 of the referrals, denied service. So there's only so much you can do if somebody's not willing to receive that help. But she did have quite a large caseload this past year.
And Councilman Triggus, I think to your point, the biggest benefit that we've seen is people are coming forward for help. I mean, even with the 4 families who denied services, the fact that there are 52, families being served by Alexa is huge. And I know that through a contact that Jen had, they actually reached out to somebody to provide some additional services as well to accommodate more families, or, if Alexa, would take a vacation day or something of that nature, that there's still somebody there to serve. And talking about specifically how we're serving kids, in the mental health space, it really is on a kind of a case-by-case basis about what that specific child or family needs. And, thankfully, between the resources that we're sharing between the city and the school, we're able to provide those direct services and make those contacts for individuals. And so as opposed to trying to take a blanket approach as, everybody needs counseling or everybody needs medication, it's kind of a more individualized approach.
Thank you, that's great, thanks.
Dave?
Yes, Dale.
You had mentioned 4 families you said were denied, or did you mean refused?
Yeah, they didn't take advantage of the services. Yeah, no, they weren't denied. I apologize. Yeah,
You just wanted to clarify.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Angie or Emily? Any opposition to this legislation going on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, Amanda, we'll put this on the consent agenda for this evening.
Thank you very much.
Move back to the second reading. The first two items, 72 and 73, have been removed, my understanding. We go to ordinance 2023-75. It's ordinance amending section 157.02 of the codified ordinances of the City of Independence relating to part-time employees' paid time off and health insurance benefits, providing for compensation. And Bridget, I know you talked about it last month and everything, Eva, so I think we got your memo and everything, and if you're going to explain a little bit more for us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank various directors in finance for their assistance in pulling this all together. There were a lot of moving pieces, and Maggie in particular was super helpful in drafting this memo. So hopefully it was helpful to council. And obviously, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And we're referring to both 75 and 76 right now?
Correct.
Okay. On 76, so we're repealing 2014-48 and 2022-68, correct?
Correct.
And then they're being replaced by 2023-75 and 2023-76. And on 2023-76, in section 1, paragraph B, middle of the paragraph, it says the range for seasonal employees will be established on the most current ordinances for non-exempt personnel compensation. A returning seasonal employee may be eligible to receive an increase in compensation in said employee's previous year's hourly wage rate. And are there other compensation ordinances? Because they're being repealed.
So what we're referring to, actually, if you look at page 16 of 16, you'll see that non-exempt personnel chart. So that's actually, yeah, so if we're looking at 2023-76, and the backup that was provided for that ordinance, so it's page 56 of 213 or page 16 of 16, you're going to see the non-exempt positions that are illustrated.
Right.
That is a separate ordinance. So we do have a non-exempt salary chart and an exempt salary chart that are illustrated in two different ordinances. So what has happened in the past is ultimately we've had temporary and seasonal employees illustrated on this non-exempt personnel chart. And then we've also had part-time employees illustrated on the chart. So what, in a sense, became confusing was the fact that we had a couple different places where part-time and seasonal employee wages were illustrated. When I came on board, I had noticed that, we had a situation where, in a sense, we had updated the seasonal legislation, but we didn't update this salary chart, which is why we wanted to move forward in codifying the ordinance so that we just have one location as opposed to having a variety of different locations illustrating compensation for employees.
And so that range only goes up to 2022?
That is correct. So traditionally, my understanding is that compensation, let's say for 2020, 2021, there has been traditionally a 3 to 4% increase that was applied to that chart. In 2022, and this was, again, before I came on board, my understanding is we went ahead and we added 15% so that we could increase that range and provide for more flexibility and enable us to recruit properly.
So we're still working within the confines of the 2022 range from
That
this
is correct.
ordinance? And it doesn't need to be updated to the current year?
So-
Unless you want to increase the ranges. No, as long as, I mean, what council is, council passed ordinances to give the administration the ranges for a particular position. As long as a person in that particular position is being paid within the range in their classification, then it does not need to come back to council. The moment that the administration feels they'd like to exceed for any employee in classification, they'll need to come back unless council, I could see where council through ordinance says, you know what, all classifications will get a 3% increase, then we'll have to reconcile the particular ordinances you're looking at that I'm not.
So ultimately, you know that any temporary or seasonal employee is going to be paid within the ranges illustrated, so minimum wage up to the $31.57 an hour.
Okay, now it makes sense now. I was just thinking that this chart was dated because it, just states 2022. I didn't realize that we can go beyond its.
No, I understand, and quite honestly, we did discuss how that could be confusing. What I did not want to do was remove the 2022 language just because it reflects, the wages at that point in time. So I felt like moving forward, if, as Greg mentioned, if we wanted to go ahead and request, for that, the compensation, the maximum to increase, then obviously we would illustrate a new year in the new range.
Any other questions for Bridget? We'll be voting on both these ordinances this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. We move on now to agenda items under the first reading. We've already discussed the ordinance number 2023-77. We'll move on to ordinance number 2023-78. This ordinance authorizing renewal of the contract with Fairsight Technologies LLC for CIO services and on-site support for the IT department. In an amount, this is from July 7th, 2023 through July 6th of 2024, in an amount not to exceed $48,475. Okay, Jim, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all again. So this is the renewal of that contract, as he said, for another 12 months. The changes that matter from last year's version is the portion that had a Fairsight employee on site. We, of course, made some staffing changes there. Dawn came on staff here, so that's been removed from the contract. And then there was a increase in the hourly rate that is below what our inflation rate was for the last year, but still above like a 3%, it's up in about 5 to 7% for the hourly. And then the big add, you could call it, for is the discretionary project funding. Throughout the year, there are numerous projects that fall outside the scope of a managed service agreement contract like what you have in front of you. This kind of keeps the lights on and the truck going down the road. But there are projects that we do to augment our offerings, such as we're working with the chief to do the intersection cameras. We are changing the network design that we talked to the top of Crown Center. There's security cameras going up. There's a firewall replacement that has to happen this year. A number of things that are move, add, change, and advancing the city down and doing more than what we were doing the day before. And it's those projects that, in talking with the finance director, rather than quoting them separate and just getting them approved because they were under the mayor's and the administration's signing ability, we thought it was appropriate to get council's approval for a discretionary project funding amount. So that's where that $15,000 comes in. This is not an amount that I'm going to bill the city of $15,000 right away for. This is still going to be projects that will be approved by the directors, by finance, as ones that we want to do, again, outside of the MSP agreement, and then will be billed just according to those statements of work. So those are the changes of the contract from last year.
And you'll have a summary of each of those changes on an annual basis to council as to the discretionary all those discretionary issues, the projects, the firewall upgrades and things like that, we can give a summary to council every year so that they can see
Absolutely.
what we did, the money on.
Sure, yep,
Even though
and we
it's
may not
devoted
spend
for-
all of it, it's really just there
Right.
to,
Gives us
not to exceed.
flexibility.
And those discretionary projects are billed at your contracted hourly rate?
Some will be billed at the hourly rate, some are more of a contract total, just depending on the project. If it's a less involved, I will actually reduce the rate to somewhere in the 85 to, not normally below 85 an hour, but it's between 85 and 120. 128.75. It's depending on depending on the level of technical necessity in designing the project.
And maybe if council could be kept abreast as these expenditures are made, so this way, if you do have to come back for something over and above 15,000, you won't be a surprise to council.
Absolutely.
They'll already know, they'll have a good idea of what some of these different projects have cost, I think would be a good idea.
We can put it in the administrative updates. Each department, as we spend money, we can share that, make sure council's well
course.
aware of it and they're transparent.
Yep.
And the mayor referenced a firewall upgrade, that would be a special project that wouldn't fall under the
No,
contract?
maintaining the existing one under the current technology that it's based on, a Barracuda firewall as it happens to be, that, if it were to go down and, software support, changing that is part of the agreement. But the fact that we want to do more through that firewall is not part of the agreement. The fact that we want to use our VPN connection through a new firewall that will include two-factor authentication and things like that, that the existing firewall technically would do, but would do at a higher expense. We want to move to a different technology. So the fact that we're moving and changing and designing a new product for to replace that one, yes, falls outside of the agreement.
And your hours are on an as-needed basis, it estimates about 5 hours a week. In the past, have you consumed all of that time and extinguished the contracted funds?
Yes, yeah, I feel we're 5 hours is, to put it bluntly, we win some and we lose some. That we have weeks where where I'm involved in excess of 5 hours, and there's other ones that I may only, be in the 3 to 5 range. So, but I think both of us, it balances out for both parties.
I think Jim said it appropriately. We have to do more than we've done before. It's a constant battle with technology to stay ahead of those that are trying to steal our information, steal our money, steal our opportunities. So we have to constantly be diligent about that.
Jim, do you or Fairsight have a staff?
So, we used to, and then you took her. So, at this time, no, we're still, it's just me at this time. I have contractors that I work with when it comes to wiring and certain projects that are larger, and then I sub some things out as that regard, and then I just manage it from the top.
How well do you think we're prepared if something were to happen to you?
We're constantly getting better. I mean, it's always been something that, whether under Fairsight or under my full-time employment back, 7 years ago or whatever, I've always tried to bring up the people underneath in a leadership style, and that's what we've tried to do with both Dawn and Matt. They're both sharp individuals, and all I can say is we're constantly getting better. I don't know that that you're ever ready for losing what I would not hopefully overstate a key employee, but we're constantly working to educate them and make sure that there's a contingency for that.
Any other questions for Jim?
So you provide itemized monthly bills to the city then, or how does the billing process work?
So the billing for the weekly commitment happens in just an automated stipend of sort, a retainer fee, sorry, is probably a better term for that. So that is invoiced bi-weekly, and then per you guys' recommendation, and tonight, if this passes and you're okay with it, then we can do a monthly, quarterly, whatever the time frame seems appropriate to inform council of the spend for the discretionary fund.
And are there reports that are given? Because council receives departmental reports, but we don't receive anything from the IT department.
That we can work something up for that if that's what you desire. We can work something in for that, sure. It's not been an ask before now, but yeah.
Just so we're aware.
Good request.
I'm sorry,
Just so we're aware.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions for Jim? Any opposition to this legislation this evening? We'll put this on the consent agenda. Amanda? Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
We move now on the next page. We've already discussed the both of those, so we'll move, I guess, onto page 5. And this is ordinance number 2023-81. It's an ordinance authorizing the purchase and delivery of a utility terrain vehicle, accessories, and patient carrying unit for the fire department. For a total not to exceed $40,108. Chief Riga, would you like to expound?
Yeah, I think we've worked on this for a while now. We've identified a need for a vehicle that will transport a patient and get us into areas of the national park and the trails that we have to facilitate, extricating a person from those areas. So we've done our research and we came up with a vehicle that we think is going to fit our needs. That vehicle is $33,000, and then there's additional cost to add in the patient carrier component that will go on the unit, and then some additional lighting that we will add onto the vehicle as well, and lettering and decaling, that kind of thing.
I see.
So this would be something that we'd have in-house. It is a little bit different than some of the regional assets that we have that we can utilize. The ones that are available to us have more of a firefighting capability. This will be more of a patient carrier and a transport for personnel.
Any questions for Steve? We have been discussing this for quite some time.
Yeah, we talked about this for months already.
Yes. Any problem putting this on the consent agenda this evening?
The police department has something similar? The police department does have something similar. It's just a personnel carrier. It does not have an area to put a patient on it in a supine position on a backboard or a basket or anything like that.
This will be utilized not only on the trail, Hemlock Trail, but also in the park and things like that.
Yeah, we can utilize it for our home days events, for fireworks. We do the fireworks in December as well. It can also be used in other cities if they call for mutual aid and things like that.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Steve. We move to ordinance number 2023-83. It's ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of kitchen appliances for the Civic Center kitchen renovation project. Authorizing the mayor to execute the documents necessary for the purchase and installation of kitchen appliances for the Civic Center kitchen renovation project from U.S. Foods in an amount not to exceed $127,000, which includes a 3% contingency for the variable cost of installing these appliances. Emily, would you like to discuss?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this would be the last piece of legislation to come before council for the Civic Center kitchen renovation project. And that final piece of the puzzle, as Vice Mayor said, is the actual kitchen appliances themselves. So JME Design, under the professional services umbrella, went out through their bidding process to obtain quotes that they were shared with us. And after review, would like to recommend to council this quote from U.S. Foods. As Vice Mayor said, the total amount for the appliances as of right now, which is guaranteed through the 17th of this month, is $123,217.10. We did, with advice from JME Design, include a 3% contingency as what they call the set in place or installation piece can actually change the amount up to 72 hours prior to the delivery and installation, just based on U.S. Foods schedule. So the appliances that we're looking to purchase include hand sinks, a security unit, which will only serve as a drying rack, but a storage unit for dishes that will eventually be purchased, a combi oven, 3 different work tables, including a refrigerated work table, a griddle with a worktop stand refrigerator, a refrigerator worktop, and then a convection oven, a new reach-in refrigerator, as well as everything necessary to complete a dishwasher and dishwashing station, which I think a lot of people on our team and caterers and all the events that we host are looking forward to that as well. And so the purchasing of these appliances, especially with the combi oven, convection oven, will allow us to further diversify the foods that we serve at dine-in lunches or the other special events that we host. It creates an opportunity for caterers to utilize our kitchen, not only to just bring in food and warm it and keep it warm, but also if they need to cook there. It's a great thing for things like Fall Fest with the clam bake and home days for the groups that utilize our kitchen in preparation for their events as well. So we're excited about this final piece of legislation to move forward and get this renovation project done.
Thank you, Emily. And Vern, I think from your notes, I think we have $307,331 encumbered with POs. So there'll have to be an additional $100,000 that we'll have to appropriate. But again, we get the $100,000 grant from the state on this.
That's correct, Vice Mayor, and I use the word may because we just appropriated bulk amounts, and so depending what eventually gets purchased the rest of the year out from here till the end of December, it may be able to be fit under the current appropriation. So I just created some wiggle room by using the word may there instead of will.
Very good. Any questions for Emily or for Vern on this?
Emily, does the existing equipment have any value or a place to be repurposed?
So as of right now, all of the equipment that is currently in the Civic Center kitchen, some of it will remain there, like our stovetop. It's not utilized enough to repurpose it outside of the kitchen, or excuse me, for us to obtain a new one. So we're going to keep that, and then everything else will be repurposed within the city. So right now, the majority of the equipment will be back at the field house in that smaller kitchen there for our before school, after school, and summer camp programs. And then recreation may use it in concession stands and things of that nature. We've not yet specified exactly where things will go, but there's nothing that we're planning on selling. That it would all either remain in the kitchen or at the field house or within the Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Emily. Any other questions for Emily? Any opposition to putting this on a consent agenda this evening? Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you, Council.
Ordinance number 2023-84. It's ordinance accepting the bid of Rumpke of Northern Ohio, Inc. for the disposal of rubbish and street sweepings in an amount not to exceed $294,000. And Dennis, I know we've gotten the memo from you regarding that.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. A request for bid proposals went out for solid waste disposal and closed June 8th. We received two proposals, one from Republic Services and the other from Rumpke of Northern Ohio, our current vendor. There was no response from Waste Management or Kimball. The apparent low bidder was Republic Services. With all-in cost, Republic bid $51.01 per ton. By all-in cost, I mean include travel time to their dump site, labor that's involved by the driver, and so forth. Republic Lorraine they're located 70 miles away round trip. The other bid from Rumpke, our current vendor, it's a round trip of 14 miles. Rumpke's all-in cost was $54.66. It was a difference of $365 between Rumpke and Republic. However, after discussions with Director McKinley and I, we recommend the council award to Rumpke of Northern Ohio for the solid waste disposal. We find it hard to justify the additional travel time and mileage to save approximately $13,000 annually. Currently, we pay $51.25 a ton. Rumpke has proposed a 1% increase to $51.75 with a 2.5% increase in year 2 and year 3.
Thank you, Dennis. Any questions for Dennis, Jim?
Yeah, so what is the distance? Why, because of distance, would we reject the lower bid?
The Lorraine facility is 70 miles away round trip, where Rumpke is 14 miles round trip. We used a factor of $2.50 per mile, and that is based on an hourly wage of all-in of $42.03 for the driver. The trucks average 47 and a half miles a day, and they go through 28 gallons of fuel. If we'd add that additional mileage on, that would only increase that cost. Currently, we're paying $3.38 a gallon for diesel.
We pay for the costs of these companies going back and forth?
Yes, we take the trucks to the site.
Oh, we take our trucks?
Yes, that's correct.
I didn't understand what you were saying.
No, I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Dennis?
Dennis, could you repeat the percentage increase from last, what?
Okay, the percentage, Rumpke has increased to 1% the first year, which will take effect to September 1 of this year. In year 2 and year 3, Rumpke is proposing 2.5% increase each year.
Thank you.
What do we pay for recycle?
If I don't have that number off the top of my head, currently that contract is held by Kimball, which we were kind of surprised that they didn't bid on the disposables. But I think what happens, Rumpke is right in our backyard, and it's hard for the other vendors to compete with that cost. And all the other side of the coin is that Rumpke, is aware of that, and so Rumpke does, charge a premium for disposal from us.
I noticed we've appropriated $290,000 this year, Vern, and, but last year's expense was $222,000. So has it gone up that much from last year's expenditures on that, or?
No, I think the 290 was just budgeted. I think that it was just, that number probably just remained there from the previous year.
I see.
You have to watch a little bit too, that the city's budget's done on a calendar year basis, but a lot of these contracts are fiscal year basis. So you're sometimes budgeting over 2 fiscal years for the same contract. So it's not always clear as to comparing apples to apples, because you're paying it out over two calendar years and 2 fiscal years.
I see this starts September 1st. Is
Correct.
the start of this fiscal year.
I think that cost will go down this year because last year with COVID, people were cleaning house, we had a lot of rubbish out there.
Yeah.
Pay by the tonnage, right?
Hopefully.
Right. Okay, any other questions for Dennis? Ron, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, everything's right on the money. I mean, we're averaging a ton and a half per household, 3,300 tons per year. So all the numbers work out. And I mean, Lorraine, Republic and Lorraine is just at 70 miles round trip versus 14 miles. It's just not cost effective to go that far.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
And the dumpster rentals that we do through the service department, are those included in this contract, or do they go to a different site?
No, they go to Rumpke as well.
Thanks.
Any opposition to putting this on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, Amanda, we'll add that to the consent agenda. We move to ordinance number 2023-85. This ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an easement agreement with LPT Realty Limited for the construction and maintenance of a 30-foot wide sanitary sewer. And I believe this is just kind of some housekeeping down from what you said in your memo. If you can, give us a little more information.
Yes, thanks, Vice Mayor. Yeah, a couple years ago, the property owner embarked on a major building expansion at that property on East Pleasant Valley Road at Signature Sauces. It's through their application and process going through the Planning Commission for that approval. They had some detailed site plans. There were significant impacts to our existing sanitary sewer that runs through that property, has been there for decades. We discovered that there was no formal easement for that sewer. And we had a very willing applicant, very cooperative. Paris Tancado granted us permission to catch up on the tail end of the project and secure that easement formally. Their engineer and surveyor put together the detailed legal description and exhibit for the sewer easement. Greg O'Brien's office handled the easement agreement that has since been executed. So this is just final piece of legislation to accept a donation of the easement so that we can get it formally recorded and encumbered on the property in perpetuity.
Very good. There's no charge to the, zero impact on the city finances.
Correct.
Any questions for Don on this? This is on the consent agenda this evening, Amanda? We move on now to the last two pieces of legislation, and it's ordinance number 2023-86. It's ordinance authorizing change order number 2 to the city's 2022 concrete road maintenance and repairs contract with Katz Construction Company, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $186,173. Total contract amount not to exceed $1,884,404.75. And I guess, Don, this is triggered by the awarding of that, what we got from the county on this project?
Correct. Yeah, dollar for dollar. We received, actually received a check, I believe, earlier this week.
Yes, they come in.
Yes. So it was really just, the request is just put back in, add every dollar that we received into the contract with Katz Construction to do additional work under the contract. It also, this change order also requests some additional time. I believe the contract term was going to be expired here sometime in August, and we're just asking for the balance, push it out through the end of the calendar year so that we can perform more work and try to spend this money. We anticipate discussing where to spend the money at an upcoming Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting.
A little more money to work with, Dale, and your committee. How's the sidewalk project you say might be done here by end July?
Yeah, it's going well. A lot of it's completed. Right now, we're working on the retaining wall. There's a segmental block retaining wall that needs to be installed across property that fronts along Kent State's frontage, opposite the CBIZ site. That should be get going under construction here another week or so, and the overall project should be completed here towards the end of the month.
I notice there's partial sidewalk on the other side of the street too. Is that ever going to be completed to going south like that or not?
Yes, that's our goal. We did take an alternate bid, so we do have a set price for that, and that's something we can discuss, that this grant would probably more than pay for that specific project. Something to be discussed.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Don? Any problem putting this on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, Amanda will put this on the consent agenda, and we come to the last piece of legislation. It's ordinance number 2023-87. It's ordinance establishing a pricing structure for Maple Shade Cemetery in connection with Phase 1 of the Maple Shade Cemetery expansion project, dealing with the columbarium and also dealing with the regular burials too. And Jessica, we got your memo if you want to.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
I was wondering if we can refer this to a public lands and village meeting.
That's I thought we were going to do, but maybe at least we can introduce it tonight with Jessica. But I thought
We have a workshop later this month?
we do, I think, in 2 weeks, Mayor, I believe.
So we can discuss it there?
Debbie, we can put that, add that to our agenda there.
With just a brief overview.
I just sent everyone around an updated spreadsheet. We noticed there was an Excel issue in what was sent with City Council. So just for some background, in 2022, City Council authorized us to move forward with the purchase of 3 columbarium walls. Those 3 columbarium walls are ready for installation. Right now, the concrete footers have been poured and the cement sidewalks around them have also been poured. So once those have had the time to cure, those will be ready to be installed, which means that we need to set a pricing structure for those niches. So as you'll note in the memo, there's 288 niches that will be available, making room. Each of those niches can hold the remains of 2 individuals, thereby making room for as many as 576 remains to be stored in those columbarium walls. So what we're doing is trying to set the pricing structure for the niches, but while looking at that, it also made sense to look at the actual cost for traditional burials as well. So you'll see in there, we did an analysis of what some other communities have been doing and then made a pricing recommendation structure to hopefully simplify the burial system, the pricing structure, and have things a little bit more in line with what other communities in the area are doing.
Thank you, Jess. I guess the intention for council is we'll keep this on first reading and refer to the workshop in 2 weeks. So this way we'd be ready to adopt in the August meeting.
And this belongs in public lands?
Public lands and, yeah. I think-
Workshop's fine.
It's gonna
Well,
be,
workshop, it's gonna be
Workshop's fine.
council's.
No, no,
Is that
no,
okay?
but I guess what I'm asking is, the sponsoring groups doesn't seem to be public lands. It seemed to be economic development, no?
I think it is public lands. I think that's your committee, isn't it?
It's a
Chris?
public lands.
Yeah. That's Chris's
Okay.
committee, yeah.
But it's introduced by Tracus DeGeronimo Narduzzi,
The
not Walchanowitz.
the ordinance is introduced by the Economic Development Committee, not the Public Buildings and Lands.
Yeah, I think that's
Right,
what he's
that
trying to
was
say.
my question.
According to the agenda, we have, it looks like the public lands and buildings, it's Anthony, Chris, and Jim.
That's what I've got.
On the ordinance.
Oh, on the ordinance, on the ordinance.
Oh, and the ordinance itself.
On the actual
Okay.
ordinance,
The
yeah.
agenda is different from the ordinance, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a discrepancy between the two.
So
So we'll just
while
make
while it's before us, I would just move to amend to have the 2387 introduced by the Public Buildings and Lands Committee
Yeah.
and strike the names that are not applicable. for the-
I would second.
Who is on the public buildings and lands?
Isn't that?
That's,
Myself, Anthony, and Jim.
yeah, that's public buildings.
That's what I have.
But now the
That's what I have
ordinance,
the agenda to.
On the ordinance, it says Tracus DeGeronimo Narduzzi.
I don't, what,
this is what's
I
current.
don't, I have the most current one.
I have.
I've got it online.
Yeah, that's the one.
Online, it's different.
Online, it's different, maybe.
What I think might be the confusion is when you pulled out the agenda, there was 2 copies of it attached, and so perhaps that's where the confusion is coming
Yeah,
from.
it was a little confusing. It was duplicated on the computer, on the website.
The agenda packet had 2 versions.
Why don't you all just introduce it and that'll be,
Oh.
clear it up.
There is a second copy on the.
Yeah, there's two copies, which, very good. That's a little technical difficulty.
Technical
Well,
difficulty.
issue for fair side.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
So this way, we have the information that Jess provided, and we'll be ready to go at it at the
Yeah,
workshop.
I'd ask council to, in order to streamline the process, we'd really like to get this approved as quickly as possible. We have people that are waiting to purchase niches, and so if you have any questions prior to the meeting, please let us know. Please let Jessica and our team know. They worked very hard on this so that we can streamline the process and discussion rather than creating more questions at the meeting. Please generate your questions before the meeting so that we can expedite the direction of this.
Now, Mary, are we looking at approving it at the workshop?
I'd like to approve it at the workshop, but I want to make sure council's comfortable.
Very
But if
good.
you get your questions beforehand, we can address them to your satisfaction so that we can get this approved.
And when will the niches be in place and ready to be occupied?
The will be, they'll be installed at the end of the month. The niches, the walls will be installed by the end of the month, and then we'll finish up the amenities around it. So we should be in business by the time, we have a customer. We have customers waiting, by the way. So that's just real.
So the footers have been poured for all of the,
We poured the footers for all 6 columbarium walls,
Yes.
which is what we designed the area to be and to hold. And so those have all been poured, the concrete walkways have all been poured. Now we're waiting for the concrete footers to cure, which should be done by the end of the month.
so then potentially that would lower the potential cost of the additional units, except if we allow for inflation, obviously.
Yeah, but we're not, if we fill 288, we get to that situation, then some future council and mayor can address that because.
We hope we don't fill them fast.
I don't know. It could be,
And the potentials have 2, right?
2
So
per.
you get
Yes,
over
2,
500.
you can put 2 individuals in a niche. So there's, the maximum capacity is 576 individuals in the 3 columbarium walls.
I see.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Mayor, I turn the meeting over to you.
Great. And please thank Annie for her extra effort in this, Jess. Okay. Good evening. We have the regular meeting of council of July 11th, 2023. Clerk will call the roll.
DeGeronimo.
Here.
Grandal.
Here.
Narduzzi.
Here.
Tagliati.
Here.
Tracus.
Present.
Laverca.
Here.
Walchanwicz.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Audience participation? No audience participation. We'll move on to, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council of June 13th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And they are so adopted. Let's see, a motion to amend the ordinance to increase the overall project. We did that already, right? Body worn cameras? We did that, so that's done.
Yes.
Did we pass the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, we did
We
pass
did it beforehand.
in caucus.
So we'll move on to, we have ordinance 2023-72 and 3 have been removed. We have ordinance 2023-75.
Title only?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending section 157.02 of the codified ordinances of the City of Independence relating to part-time employees, paid time off, and health insurance benefits, and providing for compensation, revision 1.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Any questions on the adoption? Call the roll.
Grandal.
Yes.
Narduzzi.
Yes.
Tagliati.
Yes.
Tracus.
Aye.
Laverca.
Yes.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
DeGeronimo.
Yes.
And it's adopted. We have ordinance 2023-76.
Title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance enacting new section 157.03 of the codified ordinances of the City of Independence relating to seasonal employees' compensation.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions on the adoption? Call the roll.
Narduzzi.
Yes.
Tagliati.
Yes.
Tracus.
Aye.
Laverca.
Yes.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
DeGeronimo.
Yes.
Grandal.
Yes.
And it's adopted. With respect to the consent agenda, we have approval of the consent agenda items will be read individually into the record. And the consent agenda item will also be voted on as a whole by one motion and one roll call. There will be no separate discussion on these items. And I have a motion to read the consent agenda by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 2023-79, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Independence Local School Board of Education for professional consulting services from the Educational Services Center of Northeast Ohio in connection with the Early Intervention Prevention Program. Ordinance number
Do we
2023.
have 70, you have 78 also on the consent agenda?
That's just
That's the one with fair,
the fair site. Yeah.
Fair sites.
I'm sorry, 78. Yep. Let's go back and do that one.
Pages should be numbered.
Well.
The pages should be numbered.
Ordinance numbers 2023-78, an ordinance authorizing renewal of the contract with Fairsight Technologies LLC for CIO services and on-site support for the IT department.
No.
You're good.
You're good on.
79, go to 81.
81.
80. An ordinance authorizing the purchase and delivery of a utility terrain vehicle, accessories, and patient carrying unit for the fire department. An ordinance number 2023-82, an ordinance authorizing an extension to the lease agreement with Flock Safety for ALPR cameras and software for the police department. Ordinance 2023-83, an ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of kitchen appliances for the Civic Center kitchen renovation project. Ordinance number 2023-84, an ordinance accepting the bid of Rumpke of Northern Ohio, Inc. for the disposal of rubbish and street sweepings. Ordinance number 2023-85, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an easement agreement with LPT Realty LTD for the construction and maintenance of a 30-foot wide sanitary sewer revision 1. Ordinance number 2023-86, an ordinance authorizing change order number 2 to the city's 2022 concrete road maintenance and repairs contract with Katz Construction Company.
Motion to suspend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion adopt?
Second. Any questions on the adoption of the consent agenda? Call the roll.
Tagliati,
Yes.
Tracus.
Aye.
Laverca,
Yes.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
DeGeronimo,
Yes.
Grandel,
Yes.
Narduzzi.
Yes.
And the consent agenda is adopted. We have ordinance 2023-77.
Title only?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 2023-77, an ordinance enacting new section 141.10 of the codified ordinances of the City of Independence relating to Police Department and administrative towing fees.
Motion to suspend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to adopt.
Second?
Any questions on the adoption? Call the roll.
Tracus,
Nay.
Laverca,
Yes.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
DeGeronimo,
Yes.
Grandel,
Yes.
Narduzzi.
Yes.
Tagliati.
Yes.
And it's adopted. We have ordinance 2023-80.
Title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance 2023-80, an ordinance authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Youth for Christ to coordinate and direct the Campus Life program for the 2023-2024 school year revision 1.
Motion to suspend?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion adopt?
Second.
Any questions on the adoption? Call the roll.
Laverca,
No.
Walchanwicz.
Yes.
DeGeronimo,
Yes.
Grandel,
Yes.
Narduzzi,
Yes.
Tagliati,
No.
Tracus.
Aye.
And it's adopted. And let's see, we have ordinance 2023-87.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance number 2023-87, an ordinance establishing a pricing structure for Maple Shade Cemetery in connection with Phase 1 of the Maple Shade Cemetery Expansion Project.
And that'll be remain on first reading and referred to council as a whole for the workshop. Any other business before this honorable body? If not, I'll want to thank everyone for being here this evening and thank council for their efforts in helping the administration move forward on a number of items. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Walchanwicz,
Yes.
DeGeronimo,
Yes.
Grandel,
Yes.
Narduzzi,
Yes.
Tagliati,
Yes.
Tracus,
Aye.
Laverca.
Yes.
And it's, meeting's adjourned, and thank you, everyone, for being here, and we'll get back to work.
Nice job, Amanda.
Good job, Amanda.
Recording stopped.
You know, when,